Hey guys, so welcome back. We are doing Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban chapter 2. So this is Marge's visit. I was supposed to post this last week, supposed to film and post it last week. Nightmare happened anyway, just to clear the air. I am making up for it this week. You'll be getting 2 videos. You'll get chapter 3 later in the day. But we're going to talk about Marge, Mr. Dursley's sister, and the treatment, the whole dynamic. This always pissed me off, but it pisses me off even more listening to this chapter as someone who knows a lot about child welfare, adoption advocacy, being an adoptee. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't mean to laugh, but it's like, it never sat well with me long before this. But to listen to this chapter again, I hate people like Marge. So number one, Marge does not have children. Marge is child-free. There is nothing wrong with being child-free. Let me just say that. If you're child-free, good for you. If you're not, cool. I don't really, frankly, care. However, Marge never treated Harry right. I mean, we know that the Dursleys don't treat Harry right, so not surprising. But my God, I am not a violent person. She is someone that I would want to punch. She'd be out of my house so freaking fast if she said anything remotely like this to me or to my kid or anyone that I have in my house, you know, kinship, foster, whatever. Anyone who talks like this should not be around any children for many reasons. But yeah, so number one, that's number one, the treatment she goes into. Mr. Dursley doesn't care. He never protected Harry to begin with, but for him to be like, don't you dare ruin this, blah, blah, blah. Harry uses this. I'm going to use the word, sorry. Mr. Dursley tells Harry that he's going to lie to Marge about Harry going to a very specific criminal for boys school. So you're lying to your sister because you don't want to tell her the truth, but yet you both treat this child like shit and are both the type of people to complain about people treating children like shit. Well, maybe in the future. There is something that I will get to, but Marjorie just doesn't like children. Oh, that boy should have been hit. Oh, I hope he gets more beatings. Oh, the way that he's nonchalant about getting beat all the time at that school. What the fuck is wrong with you? Sorry. What the fuck is wrong with you? First of all, that is abusive behavior, physical abuse. You're also emotionally abusing him. There's mental abuse. There's a lot of abuse. So let me just say again, Harry never should have been placed with Mr. and Mrs. Dursley. Now, granted their kinship, and I talk about kinship care a little bit in terms of adoption, kinship care does not necessarily mean they are the best option. Okay. According to the Declaration of United Nations, kinship is the first recommendation, then comes fictive kin, then comes guardianship. Now, all of this needs reform. Mr. Dursley and Mrs. Dursley never should have had Harry in their custody. Ever. And for McGonagall McGonagall didn't want him there, but for Dumbledore to make that decision because they're human, they're non-muggles, and that he would be safer, fuck you, Dumbledore, for that. No, seriously, fuck you for that. Because you put him in danger. You still put him in danger. Fictive kin, someone that is not necessarily related to, but friends of, should have been the second guest. And they could have been humans. They could have been. Would Harry be at the same risks? Yes. Does that mean that he would have been emotionally, mentally, financially, and physically abused? Not necessarily. So fuck you. And fuck J.K. Rowling for creating this too. I said what I said. Number 3. So this is the year that so third years, right, and up can go to Hogsmeade. However, so that's the local village to the school. However, they need to have a permission slip signed. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm not saying that they should or should not go to Hogsmeade. That's not what I'm saying at all. I guess I have mixed feelings because as someone who grew up, I guess I was about the same age. No, I was a little bit younger. I was a little bit younger than what Harry is supposed to be in this movie or in this book. When I was allowed to start going out to school or going out to eat at school. Okay, now granted, I was in private school in New York City. We actually did not have a cafeteria in that school, so we didn't really have the option to stay in the school to eat. Like, we had to find a place to eat. Now they did eventually, my second year, so 7th grade, they used the synagogue next door in the basement to allow us. Half of it was for our music classes, and then half of it was like our cafeteria when it was lunchtime. Everyone went to lunch at the same time. So you can go grab food and bring it back, or you could bring your lunch, whatever. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I know other schools were doing it. I remember, so I went 6th through 8th there, and then I went to public school. In my 9th grade year, we were allowed to go out to eat. I mean, it was a very small, like, we were the 3rd class to graduate, so reckon it's very, very small. There's very few of us high schoolers. But the following year, we were no longer allowed to go out. I don't know why they changed that. I kind of understand why. Like, the premise of, oh, they could go home or they could get in trouble off campus. I don't know. Did people get away with, like, ordering food to the cafeteria? Yeah, they did. But again, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I know it goes school by school. But again, mixed feelings. But again, this was not a boarding school, okay? So, like, keep that in mind. I'm not against kids going to Hogsmeade. I just think that I find it interesting in regards to you need a permission slip. And the teachers will later in the book, we see that they will eventually check to see if they have their permission slips to go. Now, I will say that Harry did use this opportunity to attempt to, I'm going to use the word manipulate or negotiate in this manner with Mr. Dursley about signing the permission for him. Mr. Dursley expects Harry to be on his best behavior for March. Now, granted, I don't think that you have a child who, one, is a child, but two, is at higher risks for everything. You don't want him to lash out, not that he was, but you want him to not talk about magic and him growing up a certain way and to lie to Marge about his schooling, right? And Harry said, well, if I go with what you want, will you consider signing the permission slip? I guess manipulate isn't the right word here because I don't like the idea of children manipulating, although it does happen. I would say negotiating is probably a better term. But Mr. Dursley said, fine, I will consider it if you behave. Now, Harry thought that majority of the time that Marge was there, he would be able to kind of more escape into his room or get out of the house away from everyone. So he would not have to interact and not be triggered by this horrible lady. That was not the case. So Marge is openly talking about how horrible Harry is because he was orphaned, because, you know, he's in a kinship placement. She talks about how horrible his parents are. One, she never met them. Two, she doesn't know anything about them. And three, like, you're doing this in front of him. Like, if someone were to say that about your parents, you would snap too. Rightfully so. And even if they are horrible, even if they're horrible, it is nobody's place but the child to say anything. I don't care if you are in a fictive kin placement or a kinship placement in this manner, where Petunia, it was Petunia's sister's Lily, so Harry's mother. Petunia should never talk down about Lily or James Potter. It's just wrong. So for Marge to do this, she is a shitty ass person and a fucking bitch. I'm sorry for my cursing, but she is. Even if this was not Harry Potter, like, anybody doing this, and we've seen it in real life, is a horrible person. Okay? I said what I said. Number three, she talks about how he should be grateful that they took him in and that he's not in an orphanage. I hate when people say shit like that. First of all, grateful for what? That he's separated from his parents. Now, granted, they died. You lied about who they were. You lied about how they died. You've been shitting on them as people, and they did nothing wrong. Grateful for what? The bare fucking minimum? Which shouldn't even be a thing, because what, you took in a child? You're not really feeding him. You're giving him clothes that don't fit him, right? You're not really giving him a great education prior to him going to Hogwarts. Oh my god, I was mixing up Hogwarts and Hogsmeade. Hogwarts. So grateful for what? I hate this idea of forced gratefulness, especially from those that are in foster care, adoption, etc. Second of all, comparing orphanages. From my experience listening to adoptees that come from orphanages, right, from countries that have orphanages, let me be very clear about that. Sometimes orphanages, as bad as they are better than, and this is really, like, you got to listen to them, are better than the adoptive homes that they end up in. Again, I'm going to say this again. When I listen to adoptees who have lived experience coming from orphanages in countries where orphanages still exist, they said that their experience in orphanage, even though it was horrible, was better than the placement homes that they ended up in, especially here in the US. Secondly, because I know the internet existed at the time that J.K. Rowling wrote this book, she talked, orphanages no longer existed in England as of 1969, and this book is set in the, I think it was like the 80s, the 90s, right? Somewhere in there. So, yeah, that's not a thing, and it's also not a thing here in the US that orphanages haven't existed since the 50s here in the United States. So, another big fuck you to your terrible research. If you're going to write a character that has adoption in it, or an adoptee, or equivalent to an adoptee, do your fucking research and have sensitivity readers. You're showing the bigotry, the classism, the elitism. Like, just in this one chapter alone, especially even though majority of it is Marge, that is all bigot. That's a form of bigotry. To look down on women who are in poverty or having a temporary crisis, right, which is majority of adoptions, at least here in the US. We're talking private infant adoptions. I know it works a little bit differently now in the UK, but some of it was similar to, and I say similar, not fully the same as the US. Here we have private, there it's through foster care, but it's still forced adoptions. And they still target women who are in impoverished situations, temporary crisis, lack of support, to take away their child. Or maybe they feel like the only way that that child can have access to food, water, diaper, etc., is placing them in an orphanage. Doesn't mean they're not wanted or don't want a parent. It just means they thought that this was the best option, right? To look down on those parents so much is terrible, because a majority of people don't actually know the history of adoption, especially here in the US. Don't know the laws, don't know the statistics, don't know what it's like to be an adoptee. And yes, we have different experiences, but this is why, even as a private infant adoptee here in the US, born and adopted in the US, there are adoptees who have been born here and immigrated. There have been adoptees that were born elsewhere and immigrated. There are adoptees in closed adoptions. There are adoptees that are kinship, fictive guardianship, that still went through foster care despite private infant adoption. There's just adoption everywhere, at majority of the places, and it's just so important to listen to other people's lived experiences. So I do reference that when we're talking about, child welfare in any sort of manner, but especially in regards to adoption, you have to do your research. And I find that it's not just JK, but there's really no excuse for it. A lot of people don't do their fucking research, and it pisses me off. And this is why I talk about adoption in media, because y'all fuck it up. Y'all, say it wrong. You guys are extremely problematic. And then you guys yell at us adoptees who don't like the content. The content that's about us. People, there was a post the other day. Sorry, I'm going on a rant. There was a post the other day about the movie, or someone was putting on a local show, Annie. Actually, I think there's a local show, Annie, by Me Too, coming up. And they were asking about how other adoptees feel about, whether it's Annie or similar media, right, in terms of storyline. And there were some different opinions. Some people, I would say the majority of those commenting were like, I really don't like it. Like, at the time, I felt like I did like it when I was a kid, but when I learned more, like, the more disgusted I am. And, like, I really felt like it was propagandized and all of this. And then there were some people that were like, yeah, well, despite that, I still like it. Like, it's my personal opinion, blah, blah, blah. And again, I'm saying, like, we can have a wide range of opinions or experiences. There's no one right answer, but the way that Annie was written, this little girl being placed into an orphanage, and then everyone's wishing, oh my gosh, Daddy Warbucks, we want a Daddy Warbucks, right? This white man who's going to come rescue everyone, and they're gonna be rich and better off. That is not the fucking reality. That is a fever dream, if I've ever seen one. But also, even in times when we see wealthy adopt, they end up getting abused, right? And then I've seen more recently, like, people are talking about the Declaration of Human Rights, which, hey, I brought out I'm the one that introduced it on TikTok. Thank you very much. I'm the one that did all the fucking research. Look, I don't care if you give me credit, but like for you to argue with me over something that I actually know what I'm talking about and have extensive research and you don't have lived experience, fuck you. But, you know, I digress. And I said, look, kinship, although should be the goal and is the goal in terms of the Declaration of Human Rights, does not, I should say, is full of problems, right? And I said, this is really, really important to listen to kinship adoptees because often they have the same experience as private infant adoptees in closed adoptions, right? They have the same risks. There's still lack of education. There's still lack of support. And they're lied to. Prime fucking example right here with J.K. Rowling talking about, you know, with Harry's parents' backstory and how Harry came to live with the Dursleys and how he's been treated. Lies. Lies to protect who? Oh, the adoptive parents, the guardians, the caretakers, instead of actually thinking what is in the best interest of the child. Now, granted, when she was writing the you know, Harry Potter, the first one and after, all of this research has been out there and easily accessible at your fingertips. Go to the library. You can borrow their internet access. That has been a thing for a very long time. If my parents can figure that out back in 1991, when internet was still just of coming of age, you know, yes, it was privileged if you had it in your house, but the books were out there. There are conferences about this. Even as a writer, if this is what I'm going to use, go to those conferences. Speak to adoptees. There are meet and greets. There have always been meet and greets. I really find no excuse, especially with problematic authors. I really give her hell for all of this. And again, this is an entire chapter showing the elitism, the classism, the looking down on child welfare and the treatment of children by a woman who doesn't give a fuck about children. And for her to say, oh, look, Dudley's going to be a handsome young man. Mind you, he's like childhood obesity here. And we have Harry who's like underfed and him being entitled and spoiled and all that. To then look at Harry like, I dare you to say something. Fuck the whole Dursley family. And especially fuck the writer, because we don't like J.K. Rowling over here. But my point is, this entire book, her entire series, her entire works of art is all about, you cannot, let me rephrase that. The reason I'm doing this, series that I've talked about in many prior videos is you cannot separate the art from the artist. Right? My goal isn't to promote Harry Potter by any far means. Like, I'm not trying to, if you choose to read her, you choose to read her, but keep in mind that there is still bigotry in these books. We haven't met some of the characters, aka Cho Chang, Kingsley Shacklebolt, a black character, an Asian character. I think she's supposed to be Chinese. And those are the names you come up with? Shacklebolt? Cho Chang? Like, you couldn't come up with anything else? You have extremely creative white European names, but you can't come up with anything else? And the fact that this woman is so intent on destroying the trans community, especially in the UK, to trans women who did nothing to her. I am a cis woman. Okay, I'm biologically born a woman. The trans community is not a competition. They're not trying to take our place. They're someone wanting to transition into a woman, right? So that their outsides reflect what they feel on the inside, especially when it comes to hormones and the brain chemistry. There's like a whole science about it, which is pretty interesting and cool. But for them to do the transition and have gender affirming care, which by the way, cis people do too. They have gender affirming care, you know, boob jobs, BBLs, tummy tucks. Hey, not against wanting one. Okay. The more they lose weight, the more that I want more plastic surgery. We'll see how that goes. I'm hoping my insurance covers that, but that's a whole different thing. That's more due to weight loss. But I don't have anything against that, right? I don't. They're not taking away from me being a cis woman. And yes, cis is a descriptor in front of woman, okay? If you're not cis, you're trans, point blank, period. And for JK to be so vehemently against trans women is utterly disgusting. Utterly disgusting. And for her to say nasty things about Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint, who originally, they're the three that originally played Harry Potter, Hermione, and Ron Weasley, sorry. Because they don't agree with her, oh, well, I gave them their start. Yeah, okay, that doesn't mean they have to agree with your thoughts. They recognize that, well, let me reference this. Rupert Grint did not actually get his start in Harry Potter. Did he get more fame in Harry Potter? Yes, he was acting prior to Harry Potter. Let's start with that. Number 2, just because you get your start from somewhere doesn't mean that you owe that person for the rest of your fucking career or life. Okay? Number 4, for all the adults that continue to support JK, for the kids that are now grown up, hey, Tom Felton, buddy, we used to be friendly, you know. We used to talk on AIM. This is how old I am. Yeah. You were cool. I really liked you. You had some good points as you grew up, and you're still supporting her to this day and age. Fuck you. And to the parents of the kids who are now playing in the new show, fuck you too, because you continue to support putting money in this woman's pocket just because your kid wants a chance to get fame. Call me, you guys are pick-me's. You're not gonna, it's not a good look. And I'm not blaming the children, okay? I am blaming the adults. Any adult who continues to work with a bigoted woman and support her projects, whether it's Harry Potter, because yes, I know it's hard to get rid of the fandom, and you cannot separate the art from the artist. So I know Harry Potter fans, I know I was one of you, ran a very large Facebook group, and I'm just disgusted by this woman's behavior. And I know a lot of you are. But we should not be putting money in this woman's pocket. And that's exactly what people are doing, not only supporting her endeavors in creating the show, but also by watching it. Do I have access to the show because I have HBO? Yes. I am also a content creator. I've talked about Harry Potter. I do compare and contrast. I'm not even remotely tempted to go watch the new show because I don't want to give her the fucking views. Even though I'm one view, I don't want to do it. I may eventually with my mother so that we're saving on the views. That's what we've talked about. But I'm still highly on the fence. And I mean, really, I don't want to do it. Like, there's so many other things I could be talking about. I don't. it really just feels like, even as a content creator, even though I talk about these things, and yes, I know you guys could be like, well, you know, you're bringing attention to it, so that could be putting money in her pocket. Yes, I get that. 100% agree. But I'm also showing, like, look, you cannot separate the art from the artist, right? Here are the problems. I'm not even talking about the movies yet. Like, yes, the movies go based off the books. I'm talking strictly on the books that many of us have already had access to because we have them, or you go to the library. So we're talking about, you know, ethical consumption, accessibility when it comes to problematic authors. Again, like, I can do a whole different video on this. Can you ethically consume a problematic author? Even with annotating. You know, my opinion, yes, and also no. I think there's always going to be some small line of, you're still bringing her name into things. You're still bringing, you know, Harry Potter up, even though you're talking about the bad things. Is that necessarily a good thing? No. I mean, yes, but also no. Like, I don't know. I'm torn. Even though I'm doing this series, I'm like torn between it. But also, like I said, like, are there ethical ways to still consume problematic authors, not buying new merchandise from the stores, not buying, you know, the book from brand new from the store, getting it secondhand, or borrowing from the library? Yes, you know, and also I say reading is reading. So even with children, like my son, I don't know, he has mixed feelings about Harry Potter. I haven't really talked to him about the problems of J.K. Rowling per se. Like, I haven't like given a full sit down with him about all of this. We've gone over a little bit, but not to like a very long, deep conversation. But that's still something that I bring up. Like, hey, not every author is going to be a good author. There are going to be works of literature or art or media that are problematic, and we can sit there, consume it, and have those discussions. That is important. Teaching our future generations. Thank you.
You want it?
Yeah. Sorry. So yeah, that's my thought on it. Anyway, sorry, this was a really long video on chapter 2. That is what I have to say. A big fuck you to J.K. Rowling, to her characters, Mr. and Mrs. Dursley, and especially to Marge in this chapter, because the way that all of you have treated Harry, yes, and that includes the creator of Harry Potter, and the lack of research, the lack of understanding, the classism, etc. There you go. There's your bigotry. There's your bigotry. An entire chapter to classism, elitism, against, you know, different people, right? The whole premise is that people that are not that are magical are different than those that are muggle born and stay muggle born. That's racism for you. Yeah. And yes, that goes for the flip side. There are people that are bigots, that are, you know, they call them pure blood, right? The Malfoys, for example, and the way that they treat other people. Meanwhile, you have the Weasleys, who they mistreat because the Weasleys are very liberal. They're all about learning and accepting and understanding different people and different things, especially Arthur. I love Arthur Weasley. I will say he is like one of the few exceptions that, like, I will always have love for Arthur Weasley as a character. And fun fact, Arthur Weasley, and there was a few other Harry Potter actors that were in Doctor Who. He will be one of my top favorites. Just saying. Yes, I am a Whovian. I don't often talk about it, but I am a Whovian. So yeah, that is just the end of this. And later today, you're going to get chapter 3. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.